So today, last week I spoke about what our theme for the year was. And it was the year of living, as it says on your cover of your program, is the year of living in beauty, bliss, and bounty. And so last week I gave the summation or the overview of how I want to see us unfolding and embracing those three powerful principles and qualities of the universal intelligence of life or God. And so today, and then next week and the following week, I'm going to focus on those three. Today I'm going to focus on beauty, next week will be bliss, and the following week will be bounty. So today I want to focus on beauty and how important it is, because when we hear that term beauty, it's real easy to want to refer to or immediately conjure up the thought of physical beauty, because we spend a lot of time on our physical beauty. Whether it's our clothes, our time in front of the mirror, getting our hair done, our nails, our toenails. I mean, can you imagine 200 years ago going back and saying, you know, to the people in the Midwest, a part of the country, and saying, hey, you know what, one day you'll sit down and you have somebody fuss all over your toes, and they'll paint it, and they'll charge you for it. And right after that, then tell them that you'll one day spend $5 for a cup of coffee. I don't think that went over too well. So beauty, though, is we want to look at more than physical appearance. Because a lot of times we limit our ability to see what is beautiful based on an appearance only. And what I want to give is, and expand our ability and our awareness through this talk this morning of how we can see beauty in places maybe we overlook it. And I wonder how many times we overlook beauty in things around us that sometimes we might call junk. Have you ever gone by one of those yards and you're out traveling? I would see a lot in the Midwest and the States where people in the country, they would take like, you know, a part of an engine and then a part of a tractor and some scrap metal here and there, and they weld it all together and it looks like this beautiful art piece. Where most of us would see that as junk. How many of us have taken stuff, you know, like our old clothes and stuff that we haven't worn in a while, and we just toss it away or we give it to Goodwill and we say, good riddance. Good riddance, because I don't have any more use for it and I can't see any beauty in it. Well, when we have that locked-in perception, then that's where we stay stuck, is that we can't see how something that is being tossed away or cast away is no longer of value to us because it doesn't have any beauty to it. But if we shift our perception and we look at that same stuff that's being cast away, tossed out, we may get a different perspective and see it as a beautiful art waiting to be put together. Have you ever done that? So, a young man started showing up here a couple of months ago, and his clothes stuck out. And a lot of times when people look a little different, we think there's something unique about them, because they're not like it, or they don't dress or appear like everyone else. And many of us don't like to be the ones that look a little different. We like to be sure that we fit in. But I'm always drawn to those because my mother always stood out. And she always dressed very unique. And so I've always been drawn to people that dress or reflect beauty in different ways. And so I started talking to Doug about his clothes. And I said, man, I sure wouldn't mind something like that. He says, I'll make it. So I want to show you what happens when you take a bunch of cast-off rags and you toss them away and somebody comes in with a different perspective and sees beauty in it. Doug? So, just for a moment, Doug, where did you find all these pieces of clothing that went into this? Good. But you see how many of us would look at all these pieces and go, oh, they're not of any value anymore. I think it's great that came from Value Village. I just wanted to, but you see, that's what I love about Doug is he takes something like this that most of us would go, oh, how can that work? And then by putting it all together, it turns into one beautiful piece of art I get to wear. But you see how we can take something, I think this is just such a beautiful reflection perception of when we shift our perspective of what we thought wasn't a certain thing or can't be used a certain way, and we take a different approach to it, we can see beauty in where others don't see beauty. And that's what I want us to look at today and examine real closely is what part of our lives do we have going on that maybe they really are beautiful, but we just need to shift our perception of them. And so, as I share about today, I just really want to be sure and clarify and define what the word beauty means and how we're using it here. Beauty is the combination of qualities that make something pleasing and impressive to look at, listen to, touch, smell, or taste. And more importantly, beauty is loveliness, attractiveness, good looks, prettiness, exquisitiveness, and gorgeousness, and magnificence. That's beauty. And then some. So here is the question that we're going to explore today. You can put the first quote up if you would, Drew. The question I want you to ask of yourself inwardly and be as honest as you can with yourself is, do you present yourself to the world as a beautiful being of light? In other words, when you enter a room, does the room become brighter or dimmer with your presence? Do you see yourself as an illumined, beautiful being of light? And when you walk into a room, and a room can be the place where you work, your office. It can be your family. It can be your home. It can be another home, a friend's home. It can be the coffee shop that you meet friends at. When you walk into and sit down at that table or at that conference table, does the room lift up because you bring a beauty and aura of gorgeousness, of lightness, of exquisitiveness to the room? Or do you bring in a room of dread, or an energy of dread and unhappiness and sadness and gloom and doom? A lot of times inwardly we think, well, we're fooling everybody. They can't tell when I'm down and upset or hurt. And that we can somehow put a smile on it and that will cover up what is really going on. You can't mask unhappiness. It will always, always precede you. And when we carry that energy into a room, then that room becomes a little dimmer. Or when we enter into the room and go, man, I'm a beautiful being. You're all lucky to be hanging out with me. Just teasing on that part. A little. But when we walk in carrying that energy, it does illuminate and it makes those around us happier to be with us. So what is that energy that we enter into our room, our day? Each day is our room. How many times you had somebody walk up to you and say, man, you look beautiful. And you say outwardly, yeah, thank you. And then as soon as they walk away and you're to yourself again with your own thoughts, you say, man, what vivid imaginations those people have. Have you ever had somebody pay you that compliment and say how beautiful you are, but then as soon as they leave your presence, you immediately discount them in some way? How many times have you had a brand new outfit on? Brand new. And you're really proud of it. You maybe saved for it for a while. And you've been waiting for it to go on sale at the Bay or whatever. And you have it on. And when you're standing in front of the mirror getting dressed and you're feeling really good about yourself. And then one of the first people that you see that day, maybe somebody in your own house or when you go to work, you came here, somebody says, man, you look really good, Matt. And you say, this whole thing? How often do we do that? And it's the same way when somebody says to you, man, you're a beautiful being of light. That's why we begin each Sunday with those affirmations. How many of us are saying inside, I'm not beautiful and radiant? How often do we cancel out our own beauty inwardly? It's been said often. Often. You are what you think. How many times have you been told you are what you think? But you don't really believe it. Because we create our lives from thoughts. It is important that we think constructively. Unfortunately, most of us are very hard on ourselves without even being aware of how hard we are on ourselves on a regular basis. We limit our possibilities for fulfillment because we continuously bombard ourselves with negative thoughts.